Good morning and happy Thanksgiving to you all. Today we are going to take a look at some Thanksgiving hymns this morning before we all get started, with our day. I'm trying to level you out. I think you're a bit crooked. Or maybe I am. I don't know. Anyway, so let's take a look at some Thanksgiving hymns to start off our day, and then we can get on with making our turkeys and pies and whatever else. Hopefully you're somewhat done. This year we have the turkey brining in the fridge in a 5-gallon pail. We have our potatoes done, and the squash is done already, just to be reheated. So hopefully you've already got a good start on your day as well. And so we're going to start off with a great hymn right away. So traditionally this hymn we know as We Gather Together, but it was rewritten. This hymn is We Praise You, O God. Same tune, different words. It was written at the request of Arthur Gibson in 1902. He was the organist at the Brick Church in New York City. It's a Presbyterian church. And he asked a lady, Julia Corey, to write new words to the hymn, We Gather Together. And she did in 2 weeks' time. And it was sung for the first time in 1902 at Brick Presbyterian Church in New York City. So these words to the old Dutch tune of Kremser are new from 1902. As I said, Kremser is a Dutch tune. It is the most widely distributed Dutch tune that we have. It is a Dutch patriotic song at its heart. It was written for the Dutch, and it is a translation of that Dutch as a patriotic text against their Spanish oppressors. So it's from a time of strife between Spain and between the Spanish and the Dutch. And so it became not necessarily widely used because of that fact of asking God for deliverance from their oppressors. And so here we have this text, We Praise You, O God, a Thanksgiving text for us today. And so we start out with that.
Praise you, O God, our Redeemer, Creator. In grateful devotion our tribute we bring. We lay it before you, we kneel and adore you. We bless your holy name, glad praises we sing. We worship you, God of our fathers and mothers, through trial and tempest our guide you have been. When perils o'ertake us, you will not forsake us, and with your help, O Lord, our struggles we win. With voices united, our praises we offer, and gladly our songs of thanksgiving we raise. With you, Lord, beside us, your strong arm will guide us. To you, our great Redeemer, forever we praise.
A fantastic hymn. I grew up knowing that as we gather together, so the words are still a bit strange to me, but nonetheless, still a great way to begin our Thanksgiving festivities this morning. We're going to move along with another great Thanksgiving text, one that we often sing during harvest. Let me find it here. When we're talking about bringing in the tares, bringing in the wheat, bringing in what God has done for us. Of course, I'm speaking of the hymn, Come Ye Thankful People Come. It is a harvest festival hymn from 1844. So in England and much of Europe, they hold harvest festivals in September, October, maybe even as early as August. And they have a national holiday and they sing these hymns. So that's what this is written by Henry Alford, who was rector in Buckinghamshire, England. and it was written for such a festival. The ELW contains a revision done by Alford in 1867. So this is one of Alford's original, his original text to this piece. It also returns the text to its Elizabethan English. In the LBW, in a previous hymnal and hymnals previous to the ELW, we adapted to modern language. But with the Evangelical Lutheran Worship, we returned the hymns, for the most part, to their original language. So they were true to what the composer wrote. And so here we have, "Come, ye thankful people, come." Traditional song of thanksgiving that really just emanates or resembles this day today and the excitement that Thanksgiving has, even during this time of pandemic. If you've been counting your blessings each week, as I have, you realize that even during this time when everything seems strange and contentious and anger and anxiety and whatever else there may be in the world, there's a lot to give thanks for. Been so grateful for Tricia for sharing different ideas that she has had with us for us to think about, and the daily gratitude study that Pastor Catherine found and we've been posting videos of. Just so many things to think about and give thanks for, and to bring them into God's fold and remember those this year. Moving along, the next hymn is Sing to the Lord of Harvest. This is an interesting hymn. When I first did this a number of years ago, when I first heard this hymn, I was playing at the Presbyterian Church on College Avenue, and we did this for Thanksgiving, and the second verse, I believe it is it starts out, God makes the clouds drop fatness. And in rehearsal, all of us burst out because I had never read the text, and I didn't really read the text before we started singing it. And I think the text of the anthem is "The hills drop forth their fatness," and it was quite interesting. But it's a great hymn nonetheless. It was written by John Monsell, who was rector of several churches. He was a rector in Ireland and then moved to England in 1853. He has over 300 hymns to his name, and all of them are about the seasons of the church and the seasons of the earth. The tune is "Wie lieblich ist der Main." I believe I pronounced that correctly. It's a late 16th century German hymn. And the text is from Isaiah 25:6, which is about the Feast of Fat Things. Literally, the Feast of Fat Things, Isaiah 25. Isaiah 44, where the hills and the valleys are leaping. And then Psalm 98, the hills are singing together for joy, is what this text is about. And then Healy Willen writes a famous anthem. We have it here at Zion. We've sang it, and the anthem, as I spoke of, at the Presbyterian Church as well. A very famous anthem that made this hymn popular. So here we have "Wie lieblich ist der Main," or "Sing to the Lord of Harvest."
Sing to the Lord of harvest your songs of love and praise. With joyful hearts and voices your alleluias raise. By him the rolling seasons in fruitful order move. Sing to the Lord of harvest a joyous song of love. God makes the cloud drop fatness, the deserts bloom and spring. The hills leap up in gladness, the valleys laugh and sing. God fills them with his fullness, all things with large increase, and crowns the year with goodness, with plenty and with peace. Bring to this sacred altar the gifts his goodness gave, the golden cheese of harvest, the souls Christ died to save. Your hearts lay down before him when all his feet you fall, and with your lives adore him. You gave his life for all.
A great sort of lilting and happy, joyous tune for the day. Moving right along, here it is. "Let All Things Now Living," written by Catherine K. Davis in the early 20th century. This is a tune all about Thanksgiving, a hymn that reflects this day. It talks about the different forms of giving thanks, different ways, giving thanks for what God has given thanks for creation, giving thanks for the light, and then giving thanks to God. So all of creation that God has created, Catherine has written in this. It was written to and for the tune of the Ash Grove, which is a Welsh tune from Wales. Catherine K. Davis was a resident of Missouri, so not far from here. And so here we have the Thanksgiving hymn, "Let All Things Now Living."
things now living, a song of thanksgiving to God the Creator, triumphantly raised, who fashioned and made us, protected and stayed us, who still guides us unto the end of our days. God's banners are o'er us, God's light goes before us, a pillar of fire shining forth in the night, till shadows have vanished and darkness is banished, as forward we travel from light into light. God rules all the forces, the stars in their courses, and the sun in its orbit obediently shine. The hills and the mountains, the rivers and fountains, the deeps of the ocean proclaim God divine. We too should be voicing our love and rejoicing with glad adoration, a song let us raise, till all things now living unite in thanksgiving to God in the highest, Hosanna and praise.
A great Thanksgiving hymn. All things now living with praise and thanksgiving. And that's what it's all about today, is remembering God. And so all of us living should give thanks to God for all that we have been given. And we'll end now with one of my favorite hymns right after Come Ye Thankful People Come. Now thank we all our God. The text is by Martin Rinkert, and it is the German Te Deum. You remember yesterday we talked about the Te Deum. It's about praise for creation. In the Lutheran Church, we use it after morning prayer as the final prayer. It is also the paraphrase of Holy God, we praise thy name, is a paraphrase of the Te Deum. And so this is a popular text, and Martin Rinkert, a German, wrote this hymn. It is found in virtually every German and English hymnal. This hymn is that popular. It's a very important hymn. It was written around 1630 during the 30 Years' War. Between 1613 and 1617, Rinkert served as a pastor near Eisleben, which is the German town where Martin Luther was born. So not far from where Luther lived for years of his life. Rinkert died 1 year after the end of the 30 Years' War. And this hymn was sung at the celebration of the Peace of Westphalia during that time. And so this was popular even after it was written. Rinkert wrote 7 dramas in 1617 to celebrate the centenary of the Reformation, in which there were, I believe, 30-some new hymns that he wrote for this celebration in 1617. By 1637, Rinkert was the only minister in his town. So he was a minister during the 30 Years' War, and he lived in a town, and I forgot to write the name of where he lived and worked. I apologize. Anyway, so he worked in this fortified town in Germany. And it was a place where people came because it was a walled city. And so people came to seek refuge from the 30 Years' War. But the city ended up getting ransacked 3 times. And people were starving. And because of overcrowding, a plague happened and consumed the city. So Rinkert is living in the plague and killed thousands of people because of it, and also the ravages of the war. And by 1637, Rinkert is the only minister left in the city. He's the only one left to do all of this. And of course, he's dealing with depression and all of these things. And during this time, I believe it is when he writes this hymn, Now Thank We All Our God. Rinkert buries his own wife in 1637. And it is said that he buried as up to as many 70 people a day 4,000 people that year he had funerals for. 70 people a day he buried, which averages about to 7 minutes a funeral. Funerals weren't as what we have them today. They were just intimate gatherings. You had the wake in the home and then the funeral at the church. And so each funeral was about 7 minutes a piece. And at one time, it got so bad that they were just put in trenches. And that's what Rinkert was dealing with, the only minister doing funerals for this many people and his wife. And during this time, writes, "Now thank we all our God." And so I think it's appropriate that we end today with this hymn. We have two different styles in the ELW. We have Johann Kruger's hymn, which is more of a dance like to it. Or we have the traditional hymnal version, which is more of a metered text. Johann Sebastian Bach wrote this. I played an arrangement of it last week by Virgil Fox of a Bach cantata. And so here we end today with "Now Thank We All Our God," because even in times of pandemic, as Rinkert was in, we should always give thanks to God. And so here we have it. And so I give thanks for all of you for being a part of this time when it was on Saturdays and now Thursdays, and for listening to this music and hopefully singing along. In this space, I can feel the presence of all of our members, past and present, just singing with me. And for that, I give thanks. I give thanks for all of you this day, even though we are not having a big gathering at our house, just a simple, small, intimate gathering. I give thanks for all of you and for the many blessings that have been received and we share together. And so, my friends, be joyful today. Give thanks to God, all things now living, with praise and thanksgiving as we gather together and come to the table and give thanks for what God has given us this day. Bless you all this day, and we'll see you next week as we start the countdown to Christmas. We'll begin Advent next week. And so blessings, my friend, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.